One of the defining features of Tears of the Kingdom is the new depths map. Whether you've found every light route by now, or are still trepidatiously making your way through the darkness, there's so much to explore and uncover here, as this brand new map gives us access to an entirely new world below Hyrule. Oppressively dark, nerve-wracking, and a little mystical too. It feels like the depths now exist as a sort of limbo, occupied by a variety of creatures such as deep fireflies, zonai constructs, an assortment of new and existing enemies often infected by gloom, and the Poes. Oh, and the occasional dragon passing through too. The dungeon bosses from temples we've beaten also appear down here to be fought again, or to be exploited to get across the depths. Has anyone else been using Colgera's updraft to their advantage?
Ooh, I'm soaring like a candy wrapper in an updraft!
One of the newest curiosities I've been wondering about is the Poe souls found in the depths. Poes and a Poe collection side quest aren't a new concept to Zelda games, as they've been featured in the Zelda series previously. We've seen Poes appear as a common enemy throughout the games, and we've had a Poe collection side quest in both Ocarina of Time and Twilight Princess. Previously, their design has differed greatly from game to game, but their nature has always been the commonality that they all share, as souls of the dead that have turned monstrous due to unfinished business in their lives, giving them a lingering attachment to the world of the living. Not dead, but not alive either. Poes in the previous games have also appeared in boss fights such as the fight against Jalhalla and Wind Waker, so they've varied in how they've appeared. The Poes in Tears of the Kingdom differ greatly from their predecessors. Not only are they smaller and simpler in their orb-like design, they're also completely docile and they don't attack Link, unlike those that must first be defeated to be collected in other Zelda games. We also can't communicate with them, and they don't display any signs of awareness or sentience. Link just collects the Poes as he's exploring the depths, much the same as any other item. The Poes are described in the key item screen as spirit orbs, which are found all over the depths, and we're directed to offer these to the Bargainer statues for a variety of rewards with no other details. When we visit a Bargainer statue, we're given a little more information about these Poes. The Bargainer statues describe the Poes as lost souls, and tell Link they can trade the souls for items that will be useful and that are often related to the depths, and in exchange, they will fulfill their role of releasing the Poe souls into the afterlife. Interestingly, they also indicate that there's no moral judgment of the Poes during this process, stating that it doesn't matter whether they were good or evil, they all simply pass into the afterlife as equals. This is a really interesting detail, as it's never been fully explained to us before what happens to Poes once they're defeated, sold, or even accidentally drank like in Ocarina of Time, or exchanged with the Poe Collector. In Majora's Mask, we help the Composer brothers resolve their dispute, allowing them to rest in peace, but I believe this is the closest we've previously come to seeing that the Poes themselves do move on to some sort of afterlife, whether this is eternal rest now as a spirit now at peace, or by moving on to another realm. The existence of other realms has certainly never been a secret in the Zelda series. We've seen the Sacred Realm, the Twilight Realm, the Silent Realms, and so on, that all coexist alongside the land of Hyrule. So it makes sense within that there's also an afterlife or a spiritual realm, where the spirits of the dead go after their mortal lives have been concluded. Spirits of living beings are also not a new concept in The Legend of Zelda. In Breath of the Wild, the spirit of King Rome guides us through our first steps into the land of Hyrule, and we free the spirits of the champions who then fight the Calamity Ganon alongside us from within their divine beasts. And now there's the Poes, all sharing this blue-white spiritual glow. The Bargainer statues themselves are an interesting addition to the world of Hyrule, and pose a lot of questions too. Their ability to allow Poe souls to pass into the afterlife suggests a level of power about them, maybe as a minor deity, or at the very least demigods. They do kinda remind me of the psychopomp, Charon from Greek mythology, ferrying the dead to their final resting place in the afterlife. Or of the more generic characterizations of death, as a reaper who comes at the time of death to help souls move into the afterlife. This makes them appear to be a completely neutral, spiritual entity of the afterlife. Much like Thanatos is the Greek god of death, and Hades is the god of the underworld, not the cause of death, merely the overseers of the after-death process. They're just travel agents, some sort of spectral and spiritual bureaucracy, if you will. Of course, there's always the more insidious notion that these Bargainer statues are not really helping these souls pass into the afterlife, but instead use them for their own purposes. The only other magical statues we've encountered so far in Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom are the glowing eye statue that unlocks a shrine from Breath of the Wild, there's the goddess statues that are capable of exchanging Link's blessings for health and stamina, and of course the more evilly inclined horn statue. So there's definitely a range of statues from good to neutral to evil, that exist within Hyrule. These many-eyed ancient statues are large in size and number in the depths, and they don't resemble any of the magical statues we've seen before, and instead look to be completely new. I think it's fair to assume these statues represent minor death deities, which is reinforced by the pray action we receive when approaching them, similar to the goddess statues. This opens up many more questions around what Hylian rituals surrounding death appear like. We've seen small hints here and there, such as the Sheikah burying their dead under a specific layout of stones in Breath of the Wild, and Hylians are shown to bury their dead throughout the series too in organised graveyards. The Gerudo also seem to entomb their dead, as we see from the abandoned Gerudo graveyard found in the depths. Throughout the Legend of Zelda series, we've seen that Hylian lore and culture has a strong sense of spirituality and belief in the goddess Hylia, at the very least. Examples of this are seen in Princess Zelda's ritualistic attempts to purify herself in the 3 goddess springs, mimicking Zelda's journey in Skyward Sword to revive the innate power that she carries as a gift of her bloodline. However, we've seen little to suggest what their beliefs look like, if they have specific rituals or funeral rites that take place, and so on. We're getting into speculation territory here, as the ideas I'm about to discuss aren't necessarily confirmed in-game, however they do raise interesting ideas. I personally believe the Bargainer statues, being minor deities, are possibly part of Zonai and ancient Hylian ritualized practices surrounding death. It wouldn't be the first time the Legend of Zelda series has been inspired by real-world spiritual practices, and given that the Zonai lived on the surface world for so long, it's not a huge leap to consider that their magic, their technology, and their ways of living impacted ancient Hylian practices, especially since we know that the ancient Hylians initially thought the Zonai to be gods, or at the very least descended from gods themselves. This means that when the Hylians and few remaining Zonai fell during the Imprisoning War, there was nobody left to complete these rituals, which could lead to many souls, Hylian and Zonai alike, being left in the depths to become Poes. Just like how in Greek mythology, your spirit also can't pass over to the afterlife if you can't pay the ferryman. And many other cultures believe that if a death is particularly unexpected or traumatic, this can cause your spirit to get lost instead of passing over to the afterlife. The loss of life must be astronomical during the Imprisoning War, and being an unexpected casualty of the Demon King's desperate grab for power, and of all his many evil creations, certainly seems like a strong enough reason for becoming a lost soul. As for the different strengths of Poe that we encounter in the depths, I theorise that this relates to how powerful the spirit of the person was in life. The majority of the Poes we find are the small singular ones, however we do also come across large Poes that are the equivalent of 5 Poes, and the Grand Poes which are equal to 20 Poes. There's a lot up for discussion here. I think given that full-bodied spirits have appeared in Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom from both King Rauru and King Roam, it's possible that that is a perk of being a royal or descendant of a sage, which allows the person to become a full-bodied apparition after death, especially when it's a deliberate choice, as both King Rauru and King Roam had unfinished business revolving around helping Link, so their initial goals of defeating the evil that had threatened their land could be dealt with. And if you're just a plum old average citizen, especially one who died unexpectedly, maybe you're instead reduced to becoming a Poe. Or possibly these Poes could have been full-bodied apparitions previously, and this is what happens to spirits after centuries have passed. So perhaps these Poes were all once Hylians, just in varying strengths. Or maybe they aren't ancient Hylians, Zora, Rito and Gerudo after all, and they were actually just a subterranean race that have never been mentioned before. Does anyone remember the Mogma from Skyward Sword? They do look suspiciously similar to the first set of statues we follow through the depths. It's also worthy of note that the Bargainers state that being good or evil in life bears no reflection upon the soul's passage to the afterlife, which begs the question, does this mean the souls could belong to the monsters of the depths too? Rather than being beings created from Ganondorf's power, are they creatures with souls in their own right too? Either way, I like to think that Link is playing an important part in rescuing the souls of the people that inhabited this place, that have so long been lost to the darkness, and that once they're handed over to the Bargainer, they finally get to step into the light of the afterlife and enjoy their eternal rest. Thank you for watching my video. If you enjoyed, please feel free to like and subscribe as it really helps the channel. I'll no doubt be posting more interesting finds from Tears of the Kingdom as I keep playing, because I've still yet to finish the game, and hopefully I'll see you next time.